What is up, book nerds? My name is Hillary and welcome back to my channel. Yes, it is another end of the month, so that means it is time for my February. I have my reading journal here so I can tell you how many books I read, how many pages, and all my star ratings, the total of them. And I am so excited for this because this has been such a good month of reading, even though it's the shortest month of the year. I read 14 books. 4,142 pages is what I read physically. I read all these books physically. And I had 1 5-star rating, 8 4-star ratings, 5 3-star ratings, 0 2-star ratings, 0 1-star ratings, and no DNFs this month, which I will consider very good. And I am so happy I read all of these books, and I participated in some readathons, which I have vlogs to those, so I will link them in the eye or down below in the description box if you want to go and check those out. So let's get into all the books that I read for the month of February. So to start off the month, I read a bind-up book, and this thing was huge. It was over 700 pages, and it had 4 books in it. The last one was a novella, so it was a little shorter. But that box series is the Sainthood, the complete series, which has Resurrection, Rebellion, Reign, and what's the last one? Let me check. Revere in this. And this one, I have read this before, and I absolutely loved reading it the second time around and having the book to read it, because the last time I read it was on my Kindle. But this is a reverse harem story, and it is about these guys that are in the Sainthood, and which is part of like a gang or mafia, whatever, however you want to think of it. And then you add in the next couple books I'm going to be talking about are ones that I read for a readathon, and I have a vlog for that. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I absolutely love this book. It's about this girl named Sky, and she lives with her mom, and she finally starts high school her senior year, and she meets Dean, and they become friends and all that. And Dean has a backstory of when he was younger, a friend of his went missing, and he's been looking for her ever since. And him and Sky fall for each other, obviously. And he was so hot and cold, and she didn't know how to take everything. And you find out what happened to Sky when she was younger, what Dean was going through. I do want to read the second book to this called Finding Hope, and because I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and I breezed right through reading this. There are some Colleen Hoover books that I don't like, but a lot of them I do love, and this was one of them. This next book that I'm going to be talking about was one that I had, like, not really high expectations, but medium expectations for. And this was the first book that I read by this author, and I want to read her other trilogy that she has out because I think I would like that better. And I think I don't like this one because it was more of a YA contemporary romance. But that book is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This is about Bradley and Celine, who used to be friends. And something happened when they were, I want to say about 12 or 13. And they ended up not being friends anymore until their last year in high school. And they get put into this program together, and they start to have to work together for this program and Celine wants to get the scholarship that goes with this, and her and Brad decided to put what happened in the past behind them and to work towards having a better friendship. And as you're watching them develop, and you're actually kind of rooting for them to start a relationship, but then things happen and miscommunication a lot of the time. And I don't know, I gave this one 3 stars. It wasn't like the best book, but it really worked good for February for Valentine's Day, and I loved the cover of this, the color and everything. And the last book that I read for that readathon is actually 3 novellas and a bind up, and that is Loath to Love You by Allie Hazelwood. This one had Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero, the novellas, and I really liked these novellas. Yeah, are they all the same? Yes, but it's just nice because, especially if you've come off from reading a lot of fantasy or anything, you want a simple romance, these are the books for you. And I love Allie Hazelwood's writing, and it kind of just holds me over till her new book comes out, and I think that's later this year. And I love how she writes STEM women in her books, and that the way that she describes things is really makes me feel kind of dumb. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I loved the enemies to lovers factor of these novellas, and really enjoyed them. The next two books I read for Romanticy-a-thon, and they're by the same author, and those books were King of Battle and Blood and Queen of Myth and Monsters, both by Scarlett St. Clair. I did not care for Queen of Myth and Monsters because in this story, they brought up so many new paranormal creatures that weren't brought up in the first book, and it was almost like too much, and for me, it kind of drug on for a while. But yeah, I gave this one, I think, 3 stars because it just was not the sequel that I wanted, and the way that it ended drove me nuts. Like, you build up to the scene and then all of a sudden it just fades to black. You don't know what's going to happen. So now I have to wait for the third book to come out, because even though I didn't really like this one, I'm hoping the third book is better. But yeah, the ending is what made me so mad. You can watch my reaction in my reading vlog that I did for this, because I was not happy with this ending. Now, the first book, I really like this. Yeah, okay, does it have a lot of plot? No. But does it have a lot of smut and spice and vampires? Yes. And I love vampire books, and this one, I think the way that it was written was done very well, and the ending of this really worked good. It didn't just fade to black like the second one did. You're following in this book Isolde, and she has to marry the vampire king named Adrian, and she doesn't want to because everything she's heard about vampires and Adrian is not positive, and she believes he's a monster. And so to save her country, because she is the princess, she does marry him and that's kind of like the marriage of convenience. And as you're following her through this story, you see her and Adrian's relationship blossom, and her find out a lot of things about herself that she never knew, and who she actually is. And I'm just going to say the part with her dad just drove me nuts, and it really made me mad. But I really did enjoy this book, and I loved all the spicy scenes that were in it and the build up to it, because it was just so good. So these next 2 books I'm going to be talking about were rereads for me, and I am working on a reading vlog for this whole series, so keep an eye out for that. So the first one is The Cruel Prince, and the second one is The Wicked King, both by Holly Black. I don't want to speak too much on this because I am doing a reading vlog. I have really enjoyed my reread on these, and I am currently reading Queen of Nothing, and hoping to get that reading vlog up in the next week or 2, and can't wait for you guys to see that. And that's the only thing I want to talk about. Is The Cruel Prince is about these 2 mortal sisters and their fairy sister whose parents were murdered, and they go and live in fairyland, and Jude really wants to prove herself and become a knight in this world, and not really follow the rules that is set up for her. She wants to show people that she is tough and she can stand up for herself. I absolutely love Jude as a character, and her and Cardan have enemies. They're enemies in this book, and they absolutely despise each other. And that's all I'm going to say about this book. So if you want to know more, keep an eye out for my reading vlog for this whole series. And the last book that I read for this month is actually a mystery thriller. I really enjoyed this. I tried listening to it on audiobook, and the narrator was just not that good. So I started physically reading it, and I'm so glad I did. And I gave this book 4 stars, and the book that I read is Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett. This is about a girl whose younger sister comes up and she is dead, and they suspect it's an OD because there are track marks on her arm. And the sister believes that it wasn't because she knew her sister, she didn't like certain things, and she would have never used this object. So the older sister goes and starts doing her own investigation and tries to solve what happened to her sister. And the twists and turns that happen along the way, like, it keeps you guessing. I had no idea who did what until, like, when they told me in the book, because I was just shocked, and I loved the guessing and mystery aspect of this book, and can't wait to read more by this author, and can't wait to see what she comes out with. And like I said, I absolutely loved this book. That is all the books that I read for the month of February. I say that is all, but really, that was 14 books, even though some of them were bind-ups. But yeah, I had a great reading month this month, and I'm hoping to keep it up for March, and because I have a lot of books that I need to read for reading vlogs and all of my TBR books and my rollovers. But yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like and that subscribe with that notification bell, and you'll be the first to know when I am posting. And as always, people, keep on reading. Bye.